Today we are driving the 2025 Toyota 4Runner SR5. This is a base model with four-wheel drive. We have a 2.4-liter turbocharged four-cylinder that makes 278 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. This has a 2-speed transfer case, so 2 high, 4 low. We've got heated seats standard, cloth seats. Everything is manually adjustable except for lumbar, powered lumbar. I mean, I love a base 4Runner. Who doesn't? This costs around $41,000 as tested. Let's walk you around it. We'll give you guys some driving impressions. We are out at the 4Runner First Drive event out here just east of San Diego. So we're going to be driving a bunch of 4Runners today. This is the second one I've driven. The first 4Runner that I drove was a TRD Off-Road Premium. It had a lot of nice features, but it cost about $55,000. What do we have here for tires? Bridgestone HL 422 plus Enlighten in 245/70 R17s. They look a little bit small on the 4Runner, but that's okay. You can get this all the way up to 33-inch tires standard in the TRD Pro and Trailhunter trims. You can spec these with a third row, though this does not have that equipped. But still, the second row seat tumbles forward, and you've got a ton of cargo space back there. This does not have the hybrid powertrain, so as a result, you get a little bit more cargo capacity in the back. Let's see, this opens manually. It's a little bit lower of a load floor here. The hybrid would have about a 4-inch or so higher load floor height just because of that hybrid battery. Good amount of space. We've got a cargo cover, manually operated tailgate, nice and light, easy to use there. This is built on the new TNGA-F platform, so seeing some improvements with chassis rigidity, corrosion resistance. Rear seat room feels about the same as the outgoing 4Runner. Maybe a little bit more spacious in here. I don't know, it's hard to tell. This is my driving position at 5'10". Interior looks good. Physical controls for everything. We've got an 8-inch. This is a smaller touchscreen. You can either get the 8-inch or the 14-inch in the higher trims. Cloth seats look awesome. Really nice material. Looks like these things would last forever. Cup holders, water bottle holders, rear vents, 2 USB-C ports, 120 volt 400 watt AC outlet right here. Grab handles to get into pretty much all seats except for the driver's seat. Let's take a look at this 2.4-liter turbo here. This is rated for 19 miles to the gallon in the city, 25 on the highway. Pretty impressive fuel economy in this 4Runner. We'll see if we can actually do it in the real world once we get this back home in Michigan. But it makes great power. The 8-speed auto is smooth. Of course, a lot of this stuff is just carryover from the Tacoma, which we've driven at length. However, after spending some time in this 4Runner initially, this seems to be a little bit tighter, a little bit better buttoned down than the Tacoma does. Of course, this is also built in the Tahara plant in Japan alongside the Land Cruiser, the GX. So quality here, build quality, actually feels quite good. Here's what your reverse camera looks like. I like how it uses all the screen real estate. We've got just regular old climate control, no auto programming here. Temperature, fan speed, recirculation, super simple. You can connect CarPlay to this infotainment. Today we've just got our standard navigation running. We have Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 standard, little digital display there in the middle. I love it. It's simple. It works. Lots of adjustability with these seats. Same with the steering wheel, tilting, telescoping. Good visibility all the way around too. Of course, we get the rear window that opens and closes. Love that. These are all pre-production vehicles, but they all feel pretty tight and well sorted. Only 449 miles on this 4Runner SR5. Really big difference in performance with this new 4Runner compared to the old 5th gen with the 4-liter V6. A lot of torque here with this turbocharged 4-cylinder. My seat up just a little bit. The 8-speed auto is smooth, and And you hear a little bit of turbo whistle from that 4-cylinder up front too, which is kind of cool. We get 3 drive modes: normal, sport, and eco. We'll leave it in normal for now, but we've got some better driving roads up ahead, and we'll throw it into sport, see how it handles. That'll pretty much just affect throttle response and shift programming. Ride is comfortable, even on these slightly smaller tires. Steering is very, very light, but does weight up nicely around corners. Not a ton of NVH in this, pretty quiet at speed. Brakes have really good bite. They're a little bit sensitive if you're used to previous gen 4Runner brakes. These are much more direct feeling. Tons of passing power. We do get a sport mode for the transmission, where we can kind of manually select our maximum gear. It's not full manual control, more of a suggestion, but it works nicely for steep hills, coming down a mountain pass. It's fun to drive. Stability control isn't too intrusive. A little bit of feedback from the steering there. All right, still in sport mode. I think this is just as fun to drive as the Tacoma on a back road. Not as much body roll as there is in the Land Cruiser and the GX. This feels a little bit better buttoned down. Of course, this doesn't have all the off-road tuned suspension, the disconnectable front sway bar, all that stuff, but as far as road manners go, this is great. A little bit of hunting from the gearbox there. You could probably lock this in a lower gear in sport mode. All right, going down the hill. Let's see how brakes hold up here. Yeah, honestly, dynamically, this drives better on a back road than the GX and the Land Cruiser. It's just less roly-poly. Not by a lot, but by some noticeable margin. I was really disappointed that they didn't include KDSS in the new GX in all the trims. It's just available on the Overtrail. But this feels pretty dialed in on road, and off-road it's still soft and comfortable enough to not beat you up. All right, we're gonna go back into normal mode. I don't think we need the instant throttle response that we're seeing in sport here. The new 4Runner is a little bit larger of an SUV on the road, and it feels it. You feel a little bit more width here. This new TNGAF platform just makes it slightly larger than the outgoing version. Pretty standard fare. Everything's getting bigger, heavier. That's just kind of the way it's going these days. But that said, this really does drive well. This is an interesting class of vehicle because you've got the Jeep Wrangler, the Ford Bronco, you've got a bunch of other options that are maybe slightly more capable off-road, but to live with, to drive, this is what I kind of wanted to get into every day. It just has such great road manners. It's such an easy vehicle to live with. Good amount of space inside. The fact that you can get an available third row in this is awesome. Honestly, I would probably go for either like a base SR5 if I didn't really need all the off-road stuff, or a TRD off-road package, either the regular or the premium, if I were going to do some off-road. I think I'd probably skip the TRD Pro and the Trailhunter just because, first of all, they're so damn expensive. The hybrid powertrain eats up some of your cargo space and makes that rear load floor so high. I don't mind the smaller screen. Okay, maybe, if you want a few more amenities, like a JBL sound system, heated steering wheel, ventilated seats, you can get those things, but you're going to pay for them. For 40 grand, this is a great SUV in 2025. Simple interior, physical controls. Not everything is screenified. It just works. It's easy. It's great that you get all of this safety sense, this driving assistance tech standard, adaptive cruise control, lane centering. It all just works super, super well. I almost prefer this simplified gauge setup on this SR5 trim over the fully digital gauge cluster, the 12-inch. It's refreshingly simple, shows you only what you need to see. Coolant temp, fuel level, it's great. This looks a little bit strange with this really thick bezel around the infotainment screen, but it's a big enough display. You've got brightness control right there, though it only controls the center screen, not this for some reason. Use some engine braking down this hill. All right, well, honestly, I'm kind of a bit surprised. After spending a lot of time in the new Tacomas, honestly, I've really only been impressed with the Trailhunter trim in the new Tacoma, and that's 65 grand. The other Tacomas have been really pretty rattly. Build quality hasn't quite felt on par with what we're used to from Toyota. This feels like a well-built SUV, and it's just a little bit tighter, a little bit nicer to drive. Not as much NVH, not as much rattling and shaking in this as the Tacoma. I mean, it feels well buttoned together, and I think that's probably the biggest positive here with this over the Tacoma. I mean, ultimately, the Tacoma's a work truck, and this is a family vehicle. You can, bring other people with you in this. The Tacoma's got compromised rear seat room. This has a little bit more space. It's a nice overall vehicle to live with and spend time in. And yes, this 6th gen 4Runner did have big shoes to fill. I mean, the 5th gen 4Runner, it's always just going to be an icon. It's bulletproof, reliable, but let's admit, it was getting a little bit old and long in the tooth. Probably not a bad idea to add a little bit more torque, a turbocharged powertrain. Very curious to see how efficient this is in the real world. All right, we are back. Got a bumpier section of road here that we can kind of test suspension compliance over. That's everything we were driving on was pretty smooth. Feels fine, even on these smaller tires. Just an extra little tidbit towards the end of this video. We're here with another 4Runner SR5, and this actually has the third row in it. So let's see what it's like getting back there. These tumble forward. You've got a nice step to get back in there. This, oh gosh, how does this work? This just folds up like that. Okay, nice. And let's just come forward like that. I mean, it's pretty cramped back here. I'm seated really high. I have no headroom. This would be used in a pinch. I don't think this is a viable 3-row option. I probably want to spend more time back in a like a Grand Highlander or something, but it's available, which is cool. let's see what it looks like with the third row folded down from the back. Yeah, pretty cramped back there. About like how the old GX used to be. Maybe a little bit less space. I don't know, it's hard to tell. Yeah, not a lot of space behind. And this looks about like how the old GX did. These, what's the story with these? Do these fold down automatically? No. Ah, there we go. All right, so that's how you get the headrests down. Pull these, and those fold pretty flat. That's nice, okay. I mean, that looks very familiar. It looks very similar to my old GX, just instead of being electronically operated, they're just manually operated. I mean, if you think you might use a third row occasionally, it's good to have, I guess. It doesn't really impede on cargo space at all. Cool. All right, well, there you guys go. Also, here's a look at the light cloth interior. We filmed another base SR5 with the black. You probably got to spend about 52 grand or so to get into the Softex leather. Some different interior options here with the blue. That's interesting. Okay. All right. That's it for this extra portion. You guys get the idea. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap on this video with the 2025 Toyota 4Runner SR5. Pretty cool to get behind the wheel of a base model. We'll test some other trims for you guys and give you guys some driving impressions on and off road for the rest of the day. But for now, that's going to be a wrap on this video. Stay tuned for some more coming in the future. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.